don't know. I don't know what I don't know, right? So is Taskade better than Notion? You want to find that out? Let's go into the app. I don't know, man. I don't. We gotta go check. So Taskade is an application that I did want to review. I think it's actually pretty interesting. It's a nice free application for most people, and you can actually get a nice team situation going on for $5 a month. It's a very simple and easy to use task management system and project management system, but I wanted to see how it compares up to Notion because it gets a lot of Notion comparisons, and personally, I don't really see it. So we go to Taskade and we see my example spaces. There is a lot of nice functionality here. It's really cool that you get the dark mode options. You just get your basic things like that down. I'm okay with that. We can see here, we can turn dark mode on and off in the top right. Let's leave it off for now. I think the view for me, I think this is it's very, very dark. So I actually want to see what we can do here. So just like with Notion, there are a lot of different templates that you can go into, and there's some really cool things like weekly bullet journal highlights and whatnot. And I think getting something like a project roadmap example would be good. So if we do some sort of project overview, do a new project, add it to my workspace. So there is a similar sense in the fact that you can have things like a list view, a board view, there's actions, which is cool, which is kind of like the table setup. You can also get things like a mind map, which there is some different coding that you can do in Notion now where mind maps can happen, but we don't have this kind of functionality. I think it's cool though. I like mind maps. And then a nice org chart doesn't hurt anybody either. If you break things down in this sense, it's pretty cool here. So I like the fact that in Taskade, you can do things like actually bulk actions. You can take all of these and drag it and move it down here. That's pretty cool functionality. I think Taskade has a lot of nice different views. It has some basic functionality like dragging things around. You can do things like restore your different views in history. So if we delete something in here, let's just do an example. And like I showed you earlier, you can bulk edit things. So if I select all this, you can see everything gets selected here. Delete it. If you have the advanced version of the software, what you can do is you can go into version history, and actually I have it personally too. You don't even need the advanced version. So you can see that if I press this and press restore, and you can see project history in this sense as well, see changes made to this project in that view. So if I delete anything here, you'll see the project history saying where this user, me, deleted 6 items in a few seconds. And then some other things that are nice about this application is that you can have different conversations with people. So if you had a team, there's actually a nice chat functionality that goes on here, and you can actually start calls. So you don't even need to leave the software to start a call, which I think is pretty cool. And as you can see here, we can go into the start call feature and anything like this. So we have the chat here, and you go into start a call. You don't need to leave the functionality of this software. You can join a meeting, and as you can see, I'm a moderator of a call, and people who work with me in Taskade can get into a call with me. That is just something that you don't see in Notion. Obviously, they're winning here. This is an all-in-one workspace in some senses for Notion, and then this is an all-in-one workspace for other things. So I can obviously end this call, and I got to give it credit in the fact that it is a step above something like Microsoft To Do, and it's snappy. When I do something in Notion, here's an example. These things happen all the time. Let's go back to the project overview. So if I were to go into any of these things and add a block and check it off. Now, I'm not saying this typing is bad, but say I wanted to go into something else. So I'm working in this, I'm working in this, I'm working in this. Then I wanted to switch. This is gonna be a little bit snappier. I'll be honest, it's a little bit snappier than that. I will say that this application does have a desktop app, just like Notion does. Something to point out is that it does have tabs in here natively. So I use something called Stardock Groupie, which I'll break down in another video. But essentially, this gives tabs to it. And that is great. That's something that Notion doesn't have by default. Now, obviously for me, if you see my Notion, I have tabs. But that's because I use another application. None of this is really database functionality, in my opinion, in comparison to Notion. And that irks me. A database in something like ClickUp or Notion puts it a step above, in my opinion. I don't personally understand how this is a comparable software to Notion in the sense that it's not the same kind of setup. Like if you say Coda or ClickUp, I'd be like, yeah, there's databases and whatnot. And I get it. It's similar in the fact that you can have different views, but you cannot go into any of these from what I understand. Like this is not something that I can dive into. This is just a bunch of different blocks that are assigned to each other. These are not different pages that are connected with each other. And that is a distinctly different thing than pages being connected together, because this is just a title, right? This is just a title, and then this is just a title, and this is just a title, and this is just a block, and this is just a block. It's not the same thing. So if we go into something like a weekly planner, you know, we get a board view of things. I'm not saying this functionality is bad for basic task management. It's great, it's awesome. But when you compare the two, I don't see it, because it's just a block with a bunch of different things to it. Like you can add comments, you can add files, you can assign it, you can add a due date. You can do all of these things very simply. You can highlight it to different colors. You can check it off, you can duplicate it. But the simple matter of the fact is, if you want a larger scope of things, knowledge management wise, not really possible in here from what I can understand. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that this is a bad application. I'm just saying when you compare it to Notion, I don't see the comparison as clearly as maybe people want to talk about. Now, if you want to talk about things like the functionality of just basic tasks, and if I actually pull up the mobile app here and we go through the mobile app here, it's pretty solid. Like if we go to the recent section, is pretty good. You can see here, it's got all this really nice functionality and snappiness to it. You can roll things up, which I really like. I'm a huge fan of how this is actually kind of how I have my mobile views in Notion. I roll things up. I think if you're gonna talk about a mobile experience, I mean, this thing's pretty good. We go into the weekly planner here and we have a nice little thing where if I go throughout the week, say I'm somebody who's working on stuff throughout the week. And this is a perfect example of the thing I was talking about with it's not as comparable to Notion, because this isn't really notes. Not to be rude, but like if I want to put notes for something, I want something that can aggregate. I want a page for notes that's like a database. I don't really want just like random notes like. But if we take the notes part out and we just look at like what our goals are for the week, and then every day I can open this up and tick things off. So say if I put a couple example tasks in here, right? So if I click on here, example task 1, you can have subtasks, groceries, take out the trash. If I pull up the mobile app again, I mean, this is obviously like really nice and functional. I really like this. This is something where like, if I wanted to use just basic task management, like I'd argue that this and Todoist, you know, I don't know, man, like Todoist versus this might be better than Todoist for some things. I'm not gonna go out there and cast any aspersions on a Todoist, but just the way that it looks and stuff's pretty nice. And you can do different sorting by A to Z, whether it's completed and uncompleted. And obviously when you upgrade, you can get more options and whatnot. And adding a due date is a premium feature, as you'll see, which I'm not sure how I feel about a premium feature being a due date, since task management is very basic. Obviously, other things that you get with the pro version is that you get more version history, advanced permissions, cloud upload integration, two-way calendar syncs, and larger file uploads. This was an interesting one to make. I think Taskade has some unique things to it that maybe Notion doesn't have. I'm a little on the fence about a lot of my opinions on this one, but I will say it's a good app. So shout out to Taskade for not being like a bad app. We don't like bad apps. No bad apps. If you want any help with any of these kind of productivity apps or your life organization, go to riseproductive.com/coaching. I actually do one-on-one calls. You can book a free call with me, have a chat on how we can organize your life, and hopefully I can bring you value through that kind of stuff. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you after you watch that one.